Hey you, this is Dallas Ann, creator of The Violet Pie, and you're listening to Knitting Myself Together. This is our bi-weekly seasonal conversation that you and I get to have, and we're talking about knitting for other people and all the different ways that manifests in our lives as crafters. Before we dive into that topic, I did want to get a few pieces of very exciting business out of the way. First of all, today, a new pattern released from me. It's called Etta, and it is a worsted weight cardigan that is smooshy and wonderful and delicious, and I sound like I'm describing food. It is truly perfect for sweater weather that, oh gosh, I just can't even describe to you how awesome it is. I mean, I'm pretty partial. I did design it and spend ridiculous amounts of time designing it for you, but you should seriously go check it out. It's plastered all over social media. It's on my website, thevioletpie.com, all over the place. Check it out. Link to the Ravelry page where you can buy the pattern is also in show notes. Another super exciting thing that's going on is this little thing called a giveaway. We're rapidly approaching the holiday season, and I know as well as you know that stash diving is a thing, whether it's that sanity break that we all need when we're crafting for other people, or we need that one special skein of something for that person in our life. Well, if you enter the giveaway, which is going on for a few more days, you have an opportunity to win not only a skein of pretty awesome yarn, but you could also win a gift card for $25 to the Nifty Knitter. They are not sponsoring this. And they have an amazing online ordering option, so you do not have to be local to their Pacific Northwest location. That link is also in show notes, or if you go over to the website, there will be a cover page that pops up that will link you to Etta and the giveaway, and you just can't miss it. Please enter as we speak right now. You, yes, you have a really good chance of winning. So, you have absolutely nothing to lose. Give it a try. Also, this Saturday, October 21st. So, if you're listening to this sometime in the future and you've missed out, I'm sorry. But if you're listening to the here and now, this Saturday, October 21st at 1:30, for the life of me, I can't remember right now. Anyways, there's still time to sign up to be a patron or increase your level of support on a monthly level to join us on Saturday, and it would be amazing to see your face. We're going to be chatting about the different things that we're knitting for people in the upcoming holiday season. Or, if that's not your jam, that's totally okay too. I want to hear about what makes you tick and what works for you and your crafting, your knitting, your crochet, your, oh my gosh, the biggest work in progress ever that my patrons have been doing is packing up house to move. Holy crap. Anyways, I really want to see you, get to know you. And one of those ways is through Google Hangouts, our monthly Hangouts. I've been also getting a number of emails from various listeners about wanting to test knit for me, which, oh my goodness, is some of the best emails I ever get. And you can keep an eye on my Ravelry group page under the Violet Pie. I post there quite regularly when I'm meeting test knitters. I also run probably 95% of all my test knitting there over at Ravelry. I also post on Instagram quite often about Needs for Test Knitters. That's the Violet Pie, big surprise. That's where you can find me over on Instagram. I also give my patrons, the people who support the podcast through patreon.com, 24 hours pre-access to any test knitting opportunities, because sometimes those go really fast, and I want to give those of you who support me in that manner a little extra boost or benefit, because really, it's the least I can do. You all are just a wonderful community, and I want to encourage and reward you any way possible. So that there is the business. Again, I can't stress enough, there are going to be a multitude of patterns coming out in a fast and furious manner over the next 6 to 8 weeks. And I'm going to need all the test knitters I can get. Stash diving is welcome. There are some test knits that come with amazing and generous discounts from the original yarn support companies. Oh, anyways, so excited. Ravelry, Instagram, Patreon. Those are all options for you to test knit for me. So, today we're talking about gift knitting for the holiday season. And let me tell you, if you're smart, you will have started already. I have some people in my life who start in October, other people in my life who start in August, yet others still start in May, because pacing yourself is really important. I have one friend who is so dedicated and has so much forethought to hand knit gifts that she starts in January. Well, I apparently can't learn from past holidays or from the demonstrations of the other people in my life. I've barely started. It's the end of October and I've got one hat under my belt and I still have to weave in the ends. I'm trying not to think about it too much, if I'm being honest. A few years ago, I decided I was going to knit a hat for every single child at this relatively large holiday gathering. There were 11 children. 11 children. And I didn't start until November. And this holiday gathering was on the earlier part of mid-December. Well, that's all good and well if you're knitting for like 18-month-old babies or 2-year-olds, where it's mostly the parents who are expressing opinions on color and stuff like that. No, I was knitting for tiny humans, adults in training, and all of these children have been encouraged to have opinions and to vocalize them. I mean, opinions about color and about fit and about the fiber blend that was going into the yarn. What's too scratchy? What's okay? What's a good feel? How people talk about mouth feel of foods? Well, some of these children are the experts of the skin feel of yarn. But I did it. I made 11 unique hats to the specifications of all these children. And it was an amazing feat, and I'm still supremely proud of it to this day. The following year, because I was feeling kind of cocky from my success of the year prior, I decided I was going to knit a hat for every adult in attendance. And then I put it off, and put it off, and put it off, until 2 weeks out from the holiday gathering, I had not a single hat done. But then, fortuitously, I got laid off from my job. So I spent the next 2 weeks watching Jessica Jones for the first time and knitting hats. And I got them all done on time. I don't actually recommend that process to anybody. And so last year, I decided something completely new. I said, fuck it. and I only knit for the most important people in my life, primarily my kids and my boyfriend. I knit for my kids their traditional holiday stocking hats. And what I mean by holiday stocking hats is that instead of stockings hung by the fire with care, these are hats, stocking hats. The children have since learned that they want slouchy hats because it holds more. But new hats that I've knit for them that take the place of their stockings, and they open on Christmas morning. Last year I tried to convince them that they actually, in fact, wanted sparkly light up glitter stockings from Target. And you would have thought I suggested that they murder the neighbor's cat, or that I was telling them that they needed to sign a deal with the devil himself. The amount of revolt and outrage and anger, dare I say fury, that came from these children was so overwhelming and terrifying that I said, never mind. I will knit you hats. And so I did. It was all done in time, and they were so happy with them. Knitting gifts for other people, it's kind of stressful. It's one thing to buy a gift card for someone. It's another thing to, keep an eye out for sales with their favorite company that sells t-shirts that has their favorite movie characters or whatever on it. For me, it's a completely other beast to knit something for someone I care and love about. Oh, I said that wrong. I care about and love. How's that? And so to put so much time and energy and emotional space into a hand knit thing and run the risk of it being rejected, I can't think of anything more anxiety inducing than that. So I spent weeks debating, do I knit for the boyfriend? Do I not knit for the boyfriend? Do I do something kind of generic, like a hat? Or do I try and take the risk of doing something that might have meaning to him? And presuming and assuming that it might mean to him what I think it does. So much internal debate. Well, then the very perfect pattern presented itself. I will link it in show notes, include a picture. It's inspired by this Canadian band called The Tragically Hip, and boyfriend's a huge fan. Well, last summer was the Tragically Hip's final season to tour because their lead man was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And in one of his final farewell concerts, he was wearing what literally looked like 2 knee-high socks sewn together at the cuffs to create this long scarf. So some amazing person associated with knitting whipped up this pattern for a scarf. And she dedicated it to the Tragically Hip and their entire situation. Well, I saw that and I knew that had to be for him. So I spent a couple days combing the internet for the perfect colorway, ordered it, and it showed up, and that thing just flew off the needles. It was meant to be. And I gotta tell you, it was so gratifying. He wore it basically every day last winter. And every time I saw him make the choice to wear that, it was like this tiny little part inside of me that I didn't know was broken mended just a little bit, until now that part of my heart only feels bruised instead of this gaping, bleeding pain. This year I fully intend on knitting the holiday stocking hats for the children because revolt. I have no time for viva la resistance. Terrible French accent, sorry. I have no time for that here in my life. I also have a very large, grandiose plan for gift for the boyfriend. I may have to give him a fancy wrapped box with an IOU card in it. I'm kind of freaking out about it. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Have you ever had to do that? You know, like gift your swatch and say this should be done eventually? Gosh, hopefully it doesn't turn out that way. I'll keep you updated. Come January, I'll let you know how that all goes. So, in some of the voicemails that you all left for me when I put out that call of what 3 words do you think of when somebody asks you to knit for them, so many of you said, this is how I feel when I gift something to someone. And I can't lie, some of the comments made me a bit tearful. And so those are the comments that I want to share with you today.
Yes. And then I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I think about intentions or blessings. I think about the things that people will be doing while they're wearing what I knit, or the things that I hope and dream will come their way.
I like doing baby knits because they're quick and gratifying.
And I am much more apt to overcommit myself and then just completely forget later.
So, I have to ask, do you knit for the knitters in your life? I can't think of another similarly stressful gifting situation as I find knitting for other knitters. I mean, I think this is a fairly common situation because I don't know many knitters who receive hand knit things. I mean, so yarn and notions or fiber, if this knitter or crocheter is into spinning, those types of gifts are very common. But a finished object, those are so rare, and I deeply, deeply treasure those. One of my most favorite gifts was a pair of hand warmers, the Pow Bam hand warmers. My friend stashed for those, and she could not have found more perfect colors for me. Another one is, so Susan, you know Susan, you listened to us chatter away last time. She knit me a shawl, and it's garter, and it's got this beautiful picot bind off, and it's my life colors. Oh, every time I wrap that around my neck, I feel so loved. Oh, hand knit gifts from other knitters just means the world to me because I know how much time and energy they put into it. So, now that I think about this more, knitting for crafters is stressful, but knitting for other knitters, so people who do the same craft as I do, who I know their preferences intimately, that's kind of like knitting for myself, and I actually really, really enjoy that. Especially if we have a similar yarn base preference. Like right now, I'm all about the DK Silk Merino Yak blend, and it's glorious. And if I know another knitter who I dearly love likes that same base blend, but loves a different color family than I do, it's such a novelty to knit with a fiber that I love, but different colors than what I normally do. Oh, it's just great. I've got to say, so knitting for Susan is super awesome. Knitting from my friend who made me the hand warmers is great because I know their preferences intimately. So, hey, there's my personal revelation for the day. But so if you're looking for some quick gift knits, my go-to favorite is the Barley Hat by Tin Can Knits. It's a free pattern, it's clearly written, but it does tend to run a bit big. You might want to go down a hat size when knitting for the average person. Now, if they've got beautiful, glorious dreads or just big hair in general, probably sticking with the size best associated with them is probably the best call. But as a general rule, sizing down is the way to go. Have you noticed the whole Karen cake craze, obsession? I don't know what you want to call it, but it's still a thing going on with Michaels, and it's a really great worsted weight base to just whip something up really quick. And I feel like that would make a really great hitchhiker shawl. That's a free shawl pattern, and while it doesn't call for worsted weight, it's easily translatable into a variety of different weights. Just adjust your needle size to get you the fabric you like and you're good to go. And I think that long change gradient in the Karen cakes would be brilliant in that pattern. I actually have a skein of Karen cakes that was gifted to me for my birthday, and you know, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I'm going to knit that for myself after the holidays during like that 2-week gap before life really and truly picks back up, where I need a little bit of self-care, self-indulgent knitting. That might be my project. Another pattern that you might really enjoy is my fog shawl recipe. It's a free pattern, and it is a lot of fun. You can stash dive for the whole thing. It allows you to utilize those impulse purchases that you made and turn it into something beautiful. I ran into one woman at my local yarn store who knit it 5 times for her daughters and daughters-in-law as Christmas gifts. I really wish she had created a Ravelry page, but she didn't. The internet isn't really her thing. The owner at the local yarn store printed it off for her, the pattern. But it is so fun and so versatile. So in the show notes, I'm going to include a link to the pattern. Check it out. Scroll through all the project pages. There is not a single one that is the same. I've just recently updated it to my current pattern layout. I've updated some of the verbiage and changed a few things that may have been a bit confusing before. But it's truly a recipe in that you just knit it until you get bored, and then you change it up by going to the next part, and you just do it until you run out of yarn or you can't stomach it any longer, and then you bind off. It's a lot of fun. I know I keep saying it, but I called it Fog because I found it the perfect knit for when I have a migraine, because migraines make me stupid. And the brain fog I develop from migraines is really overwhelming, but the best distraction for me is knitting when I'm dealing with something like that. But I don't want to knit something truly important because I might mess it up and then have to tink it all back or frog it all back, and then I'm stuck with frustration and a pile of yarn that needs to be untangled. So the fog shawl is truly perfect for that situation, or car knitting or television knitting. Just do me a favor and check it out. Let me know what you think. You can drop me an email. You can leave a comment on the show notes page over at thevioletpie.com. I'm over on Facebook and I'm on Instagram. You can also find me on Tumblr and Twitter, but for the most part, I'm all in for the Instagram. Don't forget, this weekend, October 21st, is our patron Google Hangouts. I would love to see you. So, check me out, patreon.com/thevioletpie. Link is in show notes. If your budget allows, decide to support the show at the level that would allow you and I to hang out in that space together. So, until next time, you keep that yarn moving.